Hey, first graders, it's Mr. Marshall at Stony Lane again. Last time, if you saw the video, we read a book together called Pig's Egg. Do you remember that? Maybe you watched this with your teacher, maybe you watched it on your own. Even if you didn't, it's okay. We're going to do some reading work together today. When we read Pig's Egg, you know what happened? We had lots of words in that book that we just didn't quite know, right? And we used different strategies to kind of figure them out, right? And so one of the things that we did, if you remember that day, one of the things that we did is we tried reading a word from beginning to end, like this word here. This word farmyard. And sometimes when you read a word from beginning to end, you can read it really well and we can figure it out. Like that word was farmyard. It made sense that that's where a pig would live. And so we knew that word was farmyard, right? And sometimes we would read a word and we just didn't know that word, even though we got it right. We read it right, but we just didn't know that word yet because it wasn't part of what we knew. So, like this word here, where is it? Gosling. Remember, we read that. We said it the right way. I never heard that word before. That's a word that I don't use because why would I, right? I don't have a gosling or a goose in my house, right? I don't know that word. But now I learned that word because what I did was I took the word away and I thought about the patterns in the book and I thought about what was going on in the story and I used that. So now I like know a new word. I know friends that know a lot of new words, that know a lot of words, and like they have what's called a big vocabulary, right? And sometimes I'm jealous of people that use really big words all the time because they sound like so smart, right? Well, so do you want to know a secret way that you can learn more words? You can do what we did with the word gosling, okay? Watch, let me show you how that goes. Here's another book that I'm reading. This is a nonfiction book, it's a teaching book. It's called Animals at Home. Animals at Home. And so this book is all about places where animals live, right? I like reading books about animals. I think they're always really interesting. So let's take a look. There are words here that I know I can pronounce, but maybe they're words that I just don't know yet, right? So watch, let's try this. Let's try this. So this is a pretty gross animal. I don't really like it, but I'm going to read it anyway because sometimes that's fun to read stuff that grosses you out. Look at that. Ew, those are wasps, right? Look at where they live. Do you see that? Okay, so I'm going to read you a little piece of this. It says, paper wasps, that's what they're called, collect wood and chew it into a, okay, look at this word with a P. Where is it? Pulp. Pulp. Say that. Pulp. Do you kind of hear? Pulp. We're saying all the letters, and that's probably the right word, but it's a word that maybe you don't know yet. I don't really know. I've heard it, but I'm not quite sure what it means. So I'm going to try to do what I did with gosling. I'm going to try and like take that word out and kind of like talk about it and maybe put in another word and see if I can like now learn the word pulp. Ready? It says the wasps then you and chew it into a pulp. So it looks like they're chewing this wood and like turning it into this like mushy, soft kind of pasty thing. It's almost like paper, right? Could that be what pulp means? Does that make sense that a wasp would do that? They take the wood and they mush it all together with their mouth, and then they turn it into like this papery kind of thing. It says, let's keep going. It says the wasps then use this pulp to make their nest. Yep, that must be it because that's what they're using to make their nest. So I didn't know the word pulp until now, but now I know it. Now I know it. Okay, let's try a little bit more. Let's try a little bit more. Here's another one. Some animals. Look at this. Look at this animal in that hole. That's who's in there. That's a mole, right? Some animals. Look at that word with a B. Do you see it? You could probably say that word if you sounded it out, right? Burrow. Maybe you've heard that word before, burrow, right? But it's hard to like name what it means. Some animals burrow under the ground. Let's substitute that word burrow with something else. Like, well, what does it look like they're doing? What does it look like this mole is doing? He's digging. He's digging under the ground, isn't he? Why don't we try that? Some animals dig under the ground. Does that look right? And now you just learned the word burrow. Okay, let's try one more. Okay, see if you can figure this one out without me. This is a book about rain. Okay, and I'm going to read you the beginning of it, and then we're going to find a word that maybe you can say, but maybe you're not sure like what it means. Maybe you do. It's okay. Let's see. It says the day is hot. The sun shines bright. The flowers, oh boy, look at that word, wilt. Can you say that? Wilt. It sounds like that. It's spelled like that, W-I-L-T. The flowers wilt, right? If you said wilt, you said the word right. But you might not know what the word wilt means. Maybe you do. Maybe you know that word. But why don't we think about what the word wilt means? Because it might be, even if you know it, it might be hard to explain what it means. Let's do what we did with the other words and see if it works. The flowers wilt, the grass goes limp. The sun is shining bright, and the flowers wilt. Let's look at what the flowers are doing. The flowers are kind of like not looking so good, right? They're kind of like, bending over. They're kind of like falling, right? The flowers, you've seen plants and flowers do that, right? When they're healthy, they look like they're just like standing up straight, right? But then sometimes they droop. Maybe that's a good word, droop. The flowers droop. Let's see if that makes sense. The flowers droop. The grass goes limp. Limp is another word like that. We can say it. Maybe it means the grass goes droopy. Yeah, that's kind of what those words mean, wilt and limp, like droop and droopy, right? See, if you thought of that, yeah, you got those words. Now you know those words. You see, like, isn't that cool how you can learn new words just by reading books? That's like the best way to learn new words. Did you know that? It's true. Okay. So maybe when you're reading today, whatever book you're reading, whether it's a story or it's nonfiction, like these books, you're going to find words that maybe you can say, but you just don't really know what they really mean. You can figure them out the way we did by taking the word away and putting in a word that you think it might mean and seeing if it works. And if it does, guess what? You just learned a new word. Try that out, and I'll see you next time.